Hello, guys. This is my dark spot, and I have a huge pleasure of meeting Stefan. So, Stefan, welcome. And how are you today?
Really good. How are you?
Well, not bad, honestly, except the weather. Weather is pretty awful. What is the weather like there in Sweden?
We still have snow and minus, so it's like pretty much still winter. So it's pretty miserable. Like I want it to get warmer pretty soon, but
Yeah.
low hopes for that happening soon.
Yeah, I see. Same. And please tell me more about your band and all the projects you have. I think people would appreciate it, especially people who want to explore more about the band. There are Ashes of Light, Trees of Daymare, the Ashen Tree. There is also Ending Quest, Soliloquium, and of course, Desolator, not to forget that. So, can you just tell me something very important about each of these bands and projects separately, if you can?
Sure. Also, there are
Yeah.
so many. So if I forget something, just tell me that I forgot that one. But like, I mean,
Okay.
Soliloquy is my main project where I'm writing everything and playing guitars and vocals. And that's a kind of a progressive death doom metal band. And yeah, basically my main project that I'm putting most of my energy into. And I think fans of Catatonia and like the death doom metal scene, most of them would appreciate the band.
Yeah.
And my second most famous band, I suppose, is Desolator. We're kind of in an inactive state right now, but we've done a lot of gigs and released a couple of records and made a music video and stuff. So we've done some pretty cool stuff, and it's similar to kind of a combination of American and Swedish death metal. The newer stuff is very influenced by Immolation, Morbid Angel, kind of more technical, while the older stuff is more in this kind of entombed, dismember type Swedish vein. So we wound up somewhere kind of in the middle of that. So
Yeah.
and what do we have more? Well, we have all the small Death Doom Melodic bands I've been involved in, like Ashes of Life from Portugal. I've done one album with them as a vocalist, and it's a really good kind of atmospheric, progressive death doom metal band. If you like Swallow the Sun and these kind of more emotional, slow bands with some post rock influence, then it's definitely for you.
Yeah. I
And then
listened to
we
that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you've seen the music video, right? The Shores, I hope. It's a really pretty
Yes.
video that my friend did. It's really nice.
Yes. It's amazing. Seriously, I really like also. Not sure who was in charge of making artwork, but the way you combine artwork with the songs is awesome. Honestly, I really like when it matches. And you can also tell me more about that. Yeah. Also, I really enjoyed since I really like Soliloquium. I cannot really. It maybe sounds ugly to compare something, but it's also for the fans of Soliloquium, I believe.
Oh yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. I
right?
think so too. Yeah, yeah. Like, but with the Ashes of Life thing, as you said, like it's really the way the artwork goes into the video, goes into the music. That is all Tiago, the main man of Ashes of Life. Like I don't really write anything. I'm just singing on that. So, but it turned
Yeah.
out extremely cool. Got a lot of atmosphere. And then we have the smaller bands. We've done like a few songs, which is the Ashen Tree was maybe 5 years ago now or something. No, yeah, the Ashen Tree. I did an EP with them, like melodic death doom metal from India. Also turned out pretty cool. I don't see anything more happening with that, but it was a really cool little EP that we did. And then there's also Trees of Daymare, which is a melodic death metal band from Bangladesh. So it's basically Finnish style melodic death metal from Bangladesh, and I'm also doing vocals there, writing some lyrics, and we did so far two songs. Maybe there might be more in the future also. And
Yeah.
also, I think there's only Ending Quest left of the bands now. I don't have
And
Metal Archives up, so I'm not sure there might be something more. But
ending quest, yeah.
yeah, Ending Quest, I don't. Might do like a single or something in the future, but it's quite inactive, and that is my straight like old school Swedish death metal band. That's just like we like Dismember and Entombed so much that we're gonna sound exactly like them. So it's mostly just have a lot of fun with it, with the chainsaw guitar sounds, and just go all in on the old school stuff. So
Yeah.
I think that's everything, but I might I might have missed something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think for the fans of death metal, they would definitely appreciate Desolator and Ending Quest, if you agree. They would be more into that, because the sound is definitely more rough, right? I mean, honestly, if I compare to the other things, but the fans who are more into Soliloquium, they would probably appreciate also other projects. as well because of, as you said, because of the atmosphere, because of the, the progressiveness, the lyrics probably. And tell me something about the lyrics actually. How do you get into that inspiration for writing lyrics? I suppose, it is different for every person. Like some person usually, gets some riffs in their heads, and other person be like, okay, I just had this song in my mind. I mean, the lyrics, and then they started composing. So how does it come for you actually?
I think for soliloquy lyrics, it's like very, very thematic, at least nowadays. Like I almost have these slight ideas in my head, like I want to write about that. And suddenly like a vocal line or two kind of pops up in my head. And I have like
Yeah.
the notepad on my smartphone is like just serial killers notes because it's just like I get all these vocal lines when I'm out walking or running or whatever, just put in there. And it's like so much stuff. But generally with soliloquy, like before, I think I focused a lot more on the music and just like wrote the music first, and then the lyrics came when they came, which resulted in like songs that maybe were just more based around riffs and stuff like that. Like with the newer material, I think I kind of decided that I want to make a song on this topic in a more clear way. Like I want to separate the songs and I want to write about this exact topic. And then eventually some vocal line pops up in my head and I start building from it. Like it's very common these days that I get like a one-liner vocal line where I'm like, this is it. And then I kind of start building around that. Like I had a couple of those songs on the latest album where it's just like I got this vocal line and I'm like, yes, this is it. This is what will sell this song.
Yeah, that's so cool. And the thing is, like, the major difference between those bands mentioned, like Death Letter and Anyquest, they will put you more into like some kind of driving mode, like more like powerful mode. But other bands and projects you mentioned, they have more like a melancholic atmosphere, and it's really great because for me, especially because I'm a huge fan of the genre, um, it can put you in certain mood, and you can pretty much, transfer those emotions onto other people. So tell me, what songs are the most cathartic to you? And how do you feel while you are, while you're singing them, while you're, I mean, generally executing those songs?
I would say in terms of soliloquy, like the most important and most personal songs are probably there's like a couple on the latest album, especially the Silent Epidemic, like since it's kind of a mental health themed song about like society and people with mental health being left out and just the whole topic. And I am so deep into that myself, having like a lot of mental issues and dealing with that. I'm going to deal with that my entire life. And I have so many people around me that are doing the same. So it's a very like observational song about myself, but also about others and like a larger perspective. And that's maybe different from previous soliloquy stuff because it's been
Yeah.
very self focused before. But I think with this newer album, I kind of opened up a little bit more to looking at other people and looking on society and looking on like broader topics. So I think that one is definitely kind of a milestone song that I feel very connected to.
And tell me, is it hard for you? I mean, since it's not an easy job, I wrote some poetry myself earlier, like a year ago, but it's not that I'm planning to publish that. Like, it's just something that came up, like, as an inspiration. But I believe it would be hard for me, to put it, on the internet or somewhere because, I kind of feel insecure. I'm not sure about people's opinions. But how challenging is that for you, to put out something that personal? And what kind of reaction you expect from the audience?
I think that changed for me like over the years when I've been playing and putting out stuff. Like in the beginning, I was super sensitive to reviews and criticism in
Yeah.
all forms, no matter if it was nice criticism or bad criticism. Like these days, I kind of try to own the music myself and not be that influenced by what people think. So I'm like, because I write a lot of stuff already, like online on Instagram and my webpage, and there's a lot of kind of revealing mental health stuff that I already put out there. So the music isn't really that much more. So I think if there would be, I never heard like any specific complaints about the themes or the lyrics. Like when people are dissing my music in the review, it's usually because they just don't like how it sounds. So it's like I never had anyone come and say like, "Oh, these lyrics are cliche and shit." That would probably be something that I would have to see how I would feel about. But when it comes to this just pure musical concerns, then it's just like, maybe it's not for you. Or sometimes I agree also, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I'm just also asking because recently I had an interview with a wonderful lady, Effie Gold from band Effigy. They're from Australia, and so we talked about that thing, and she told me she got a really bad comment on YouTube, like comparing their her band to Evanescence, like but in an ugly way. Like a comparison can be made in a good way like and in a bad way like turns out that someone is copying someone and I think it's just really bad that people do that and do you think it's kind of a major problem today people tend to put certain things in the box and label things because it kind of feels easier for them. What are your thoughts on that? I think that's the major problem with the internet, and people are allowed to write this or that, I mean, like, I don't think it's a really positive side of the internet. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like on YouTube, it's like
Yeah.
definitely people are just focusing on the negative. I mean,
Yeah.
I get like these I have these videos where it's like 100 likes to one dislike, and then we look actual on the comments, it's usually the negative people who have something to write. And
Yeah.
it can always be these petty things. It can be like, oh, you didn't vocal time your cover exactly how the original was, or something like that. And it's
Yeah.
just like, but why do you even bother to get in there and write? Do you just want to spread negativity, or what's the point? Like, so there's a lot of that. And
Yeah.
like I've been more sensitive to it before, definitely, but I'm just at some point where like have your fun, like, but I get, I mean, for sensitive people, it's of course it's a very toxic environment, definitely.
Exactly. And I feel like we should be more protected on the internet, like, because those, as I told also in the interview before, there are a lot of young people who kill themselves here because of the internet abuse. And I think that should be addressed, definitely. So if someone feels free to write those things that can hurt, that can cause other people to hurt themselves, they should be held accountable for that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's no real difference in terms of the effect with online bullying and
Yeah.
real bullying. So, I mean, it's the same, literally the same thing, just different platforms to do it. So,
Exactly. What is the best way, in your opinion, to deal with that, like with that struggle, to try to protect yourself and to get to just stay away from that and not let that touch you emotionally, and physically.
I think if you feel that it's just affecting you negatively all the time, then just stay away from those environments. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I've been also like last year or two, like I've just been completely fed up with social media. Like before, I was extremely active on Instagram and Facebook and just like going all in, but
Yeah.
I'm just feeling like I want to have real life interactions with people and get away from all that stuff. And I'm feeling like it's really just very draining environment, and just you're not doing anything meaningful. And as soon as these days, like now I'm just shifting topic a little bit, but it's like these days when I'm meeting people socially, I get a whole different energy. Like before, when I was usually like very introverted, 3 or 4 years ago, I had all my relationships pretty much online with my friends, and now
Yeah.
I'm really realizing that I think many people can come to this conclusion too, like that this whole social media mass usage where you're sitting like 10 hours just chatting to your friends, and then you're like, oh, I'm too tired to meet my friends because I've been
Yeah.
sitting chatting on this crap platform. And I mean, I think somewhere in there it lies the whole essence with the negativity as well, because like, I mean, often there is like the negative trolley people are also the biggest users and the most active. So, which
Yeah.
tells a lot about where you wind up when you use it 24/7.
Exactly, exactly. It's like I feel like it's going to be worse in the future, but I cannot really predict that. But with all those, AI technologies and the progress of it, it can also I can say, I mean, it can make people's life easier. But on the other hand, like not really, I don't see the future is going to be that great. I feel like the
Mm.
nature can be a savior. People realize it to spend more time in nature. And the way when we are trying to get away from nature and stick to the technologies, it's not really the best idea for the humans' progress. I believe.
No, I definitely agree. Like the older I get, the more outdoorsy I become, and just the
Yeah.
more out, getting out of the apartment and getting away from the digital platforms is like very high priority in my life at this point. So
Yeah.
it's more that my work and my music kind of drags me into it because like I mean it's very hard to be a musician without being active on social media unless you're
Yeah.
like Nick Cave or something that's been established for 60 years, you know.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, what to say? What is very interesting, the way you use extreme vocals combined with clean singing, and when you make those transitions in the songs, and I feel like it adds up to the melancholy atmosphere. So, can you give me an insight into it? I'm speaking mostly about, Soliloquium and other bands that are more progressive. How do you do that actually? Can you give me some details about that?
In a technical sense or songwriting or
But well, technical, yeah, yeah,
technically I don't think it's really that much of a challenge. Like I mean, I would have definitely struggled to perform soliloquy stuff live, but that's not because of the transitions. It's more because my clean voice isn't quite up to it. But
yeah,
I think like transition wise with the technique itself, not hurting your voice and all of that stuff. I mean, it's not really a big deal if you can do the vocal basics. I mean, some people are obviously like magicians at it. Like if you go look at see Amorphis live, I mean the way he does it,
yeah,
it's like you have no idea because he's doing these switches that are like I could never do these 1 second switches between clean singing and growls that he does. I mean that level is just beyond me. That is
yeah,
something completely. I mean that's otherworldly, and I've seen him do that live at like 5 gigs, and he does it correctly every time, and I'm like how. So
yeah.
that's a whole other level.
Skills. Yeah. And beside the influences you mentioned, what are the other things that drive you? In what ways does enlightenment appear to you?
How do you mean?
In
Sorry.
what ways does the enlightenment appear to you, like the inspiration or some great ideas?
Mm, it can be coming pretty much from everywhere. Like I think just recently I've been more, as I said, like more theme focused with the music, and then I kind of have this thing in the back of my head where like I want to write a song about that, and suddenly I'm out. It's often when I'm physically active that stuff pops up. So I'm
Yeah,
like a very dangerous runner sometimes because I'm out running on the street, and then I get like these gigantically good lyric ideas, and then I'm on my notepad trying to get the lyrics down while I'm running and stuff like that. So that usually those situations, like when I'm doing something else, if I would sit down like this by the computer and say I have to write lyrics, then nothing would come out for sure. So
yeah, it's like
it's very much like very much spur of the moment. Like
yeah, we cannot. I think you said also, and that's definitely true. In one of your interviews, you said we can. I mean, we cannot really force inspiration, but I think you actually said that if you're going to wait for the inspiration, it really doesn't come that way. Am I correct? I think you said that, right?
yeah, I mean
And
it's not forcible and it's definitely
yeah,
not predictable, which
yeah,
is kind of makes me very happy that I don't rely on music like financially or anything since I can actually do stuff in my pace. Because it would be a
yeah,
really big problem for me. Like if I was in a situation where I have to release music every 1 or 2 years, it would be a big problem because
yeah,
then I would be in that situation where oh I have to write something. And
yeah,
every time now, if I get those thoughts like, oh, I should actually release another album, I have to. Then I'm like, but why? And then I start going into my motivations, and all my motivations for releasing an album is only my own motivations. So why
yeah,
am I pushing myself? So it's a slightly more healthy situation than the real bands. Like I mean, it's an insane pressure now with Spotify and with the financial pressure for the bands like that you have to write an album like every once or twice and every once or how do you say in English every year or every second year. I mean, so it's and keeping up quality on the albums and still touring in between, and I mean it's gigantic pressure.
that's true. Yeah, but speaking of Spotify, it definitely has a lot of good sides to it, but a lot of bad sides as well. I heard that from many other musicians. And the thing is, like, there's so many super cool bands, and I'm sad I cannot really discover them that easily. But also good side, I mean, there are also good sides of Spotify because it's basically you can bring it with yourself everywhere you go. It's on the go basically. And also it's all about music. That's what I like. Like no bullshit, no, at least for now. And I really do hope they will not ruin it. No comments, no arguing, no stress. I just really adore when I enter that and like, good morning, that's your playlist for today. And that's how I, discover more bands through that. And what are your thoughts on the bad sides of Spotify? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's hard to get around the whole artist not getting money thing. I mean, once we
Yeah,
got to the whole peer-to-peer thing, I mean, it was bound to happen in one
yeah,
way or the other. Like, but I mean, what I don't like about it is just like the whole mega business side to it. I mean,
yeah.
it's not people who like music or running that company in any possible level. It's people who want to make money and they don't give a shit about music. That's for
Well,
sure.
that's true. I can agree on that. I can agree. I just want to say those positive sides because I really hope they will not ruin it. Yeah, I mean, you can have everything there, like podcasts, everything you like. But also, what I hate that a lot of great bands do not have many followers actually, and I was really concerned about the way of making money. How is it hard for them? And that's very cool that you mentioned that. You know,
Yeah, and I think like
yeah,
the whole building a follower base on Spotify and stuff, I mean, that's basically only driven by playlists. And the
yeah.
playlists are mostly curated by people who work at Spotify. So it's like, it's not a very fair game.
Yeah. Well,
It's a
that's
very, 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 very rigged game, for sure.
yeah. Yeah, some of the bands I like the most, they really don't get many followers. And that's also, I mean, I hope that will change in the future, really. And that's why I also wanted to make this channel to make, more promotion for them as well. And tell me about your day in the studio. Can you describe me how it goes? And tell me about the obstacles you run into while making the music. What are the hardest ones? And what can you say about that?
Like for the last album, it was the first time a Soliloquy album actually went smooth. So it wasn't really that many problems. It was more just maybe adapting to a higher level of playing and a higher level of music since I brought in people who were better that produced it and stuff. So
Yeah,
like before with the albums, I was being kind of just sloppy and like, things can go. The guitar can be slightly out of shape and like it's fine. And on this new record, I had Jari Lindholm with me the entire time, which is like super producer, doom metal guy that is a guitarist. So when I sent him my guitars, I got like a list of 50 things that this is not okay, this is not okay. And I mean, it was a whole new challenge just playing guitar to the level where I should be playing it. So that was probably the biggest challenge with the latest Soliloquy album.
yeah,
But it was a unusually smooth Soliloquy album. Like before, there have been stuff going on with the Soliloquy albums that have just been like these horrific things happening, just like people having the audio files and not answering and disappearing for 6 months and all kinds of weird stuff. So it's the last one was actually very smooth, and
yeah,
I hope this next one might be a bit more challenging for other reasons, but I think it's also going to be one of the smoother ones because every time you make an album, you make new mistakes and you try and they hurt a lot, so you learn from them and you don't want to do them again ever. So
yeah,
it's definitely a learning curve, but generally, like just with an album, I mean, it's kind of a marathon to do it, especially when I do so much by myself. So it's just try to be in one phase of the album and not see the whole process ahead of me. Because like with the next album now, I have like year and a half ahead of me, probably with different phases of fixing the album. So I
yeah,
try to see just like, okay, now I'm gonna just render the drumming samples and send to the session drummer, and that's gonna be the goal right now. That's a
yeah.
good way to see it.
Yeah, but also what I like here, when I listen to all the albums, I think, there is definitely, a bit of a change of the sound. But the thing is, I think you still stayed true to the sound you wanted to create, because for example, when I don't want to compare, but then again, in this case, I just want to say some of the bands totally changed the sound, the style, and everything. And I was like, what happened there? For example, you heard about band Covenant, probably.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
became like a synth industrial type band in the end, right? Or something. I
Eh,
haven't heard it. I haven't heard
yeah,
their old or new music, so I don't know. But they became something like that, right?
yeah. For example, but I did really like them, before, when they were kind of a symphonic black metal, I believe, you know. And I really enjoyed that. And also, of course, I was following them when they switched to the other genre, because I like that industrial kind of a thing, but totally, totally different. Can you imagine doing something like that yourself? Like not speaking of industrial as a genre, but something that will, change your sound and genre completely from what you're doing right now.
Sonically, yes.
Yeah,
Mood, probably not.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
like I can definitely see myself doing like an acoustic singer-songwriter alternative rock type thing like that. But I think the mood would still be close enough. Like, I mean, I have the songs where I'm already touching upon that in soliloquy. Like, there's
yeah,
a lot of songs that are almost there. It's more that I haven't done a whole album of it, but that's more. But that's also up to like my what I can do musically. I mean, when it's people who can do anything musically, you can do like over and you can switch style every album and it's still gonna work because they have the
yeah,
raw talent to do whatever they like pretty much. So for
yeah.
me,
But
it's probably more the talent development and that kind of stuff that's hindering me than ambition.
yeah. What do you think about stoner doom things? Like recently, I was interviewing some band from Belgium. It's from the one metal website, not particularly for my channel. Yeah, they're welcome to Holy Land. Not sure if you heard of them. They're pretty kind of underground, which I like. And they have that raw doom sound, like, but stoner kind of thing. And I really, really enjoy that, you know. And I was thinking, like, what do you think about that combination of genres?
I'm not entirely into stoner. Like it's never been
Yeah,
my like I can listen to it, but I've never been like actively into it. Like if it's a bit
yeah,
more intense, like I like High on Fire, Mastodon, that kind of stuff. But
yeah, yeah,
when you really slow it down into that super fussy sleep kind of stuff, like I mean, I can have it on and feel it's fine, but I don't think I will listen to it myself.
yeah, yeah. I thought you were into that. That's why I wanted to recommend that to you.
But the
Yeah.
band was called Holy
Welcome to Holy Land.
Welcome to. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah,
But
you
they
can.
they are very 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 underground or
Well, kind of underground, and they also have the guy from that band. He has also a black metal project, Clued. You probably heard of that.
yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because people who didn't hear about that usually heard about Clued, especially who is following, black metal and that kind of a scene. So I mean, Clued newest album is awesome. Not sure if you heard. It's
It's
really
K
awesome.
K K L U D.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard the band name, but I don't think I ever heard the music. Is it like atmospheric or classic or?
Yeah, 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 pretty much atmospheric, which I like,
Hmm.
definitely.
Okay, yeah, that's more my
Yeah.
side of black metal too. So that then it could be interesting, definitely.
Yeah, I think you might appreciate it. So yeah, you can check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay. And now tell me, where do you find peace and relaxation? I think, when I saw your Instagram page, it seems like you travel a lot, and you mentioned, of course. So, do you think it's very, inspirational and relaxing for you? And how do you feel about that, spending time in nature in general?
I mean, generally, what calms me and gets me feeling good is being physically active and being outdoors. I mean, that
Yeah.
beats everything. I mean, I work out pretty much all the time, and that's not really because like I particularly like working out. It's just because it brings me peace of mind and gets me. I'm usually either very high or very low, and having the physical stuff puts me kind of in the middle. So, but with the traveling stuff, I mean, it's great inspiration. It's also like you get a different environment and get different sights, and also like for this new Soliloquy album, when I had the album in Stockholm in like November, December, had the songs done. And then I went on a trip for 2 months and just like, okay, I'm not going to listen to these songs now for 2 months. And then I just left them. And then I came back and it was like hearing them for the first time, which was the perfect way to judge if they're good enough.
Oh, I see. Are there some places you would like to visit?
Oh, there's so much. Like I have like an endless list. It's hard to actually pick, but I'm gonna try to do the countries I have left in the Balkans and the Caucasus this summer, and also want to go to South America eventually. Not sure how long or which countries, but I definitely want to go there because I've been around a lot in Asia and pretty much every country in Europe at this point. So it's my time to go to South America, I think.
Nice, nice, nice. That's so cool. And I just wanted to ask you one important question. I mean, to me, I mean, I always like to know those things. Can you tell me more about your growing up and what made you start thinking about becoming a musician? I always like to know those things.
I think it was pretty random, like how I wound up playing music, because I mean, I had a very like regular upbringing, just like very normal class, average Swedish area with average people around me. Like nothing really
Yeah,
special happened, positive or negative, just like yeah, typical Stockholm suburb thing.
yeah,
And like, I mean, my parents listened to music, but not super much. They didn't play or anything, just like listen to music, but not obsessively. So it was more, I think, when I was in my teenage years, it ran into people who were playing a lot of music and they were playing guitar. And I was just like, oh, maybe I tried someone's guitar or something. And I was like, oh, this seems interesting. And that kind of coincided with me getting into the metal stuff. Like, I think when I was maybe 12, 13, I heard a couple of like Iron Maiden and Metallica songs. And I was like,
yeah.
yeah, this sounds, and then a heavier and heavier stuff. So like when I was around 14, 15, which was probably when I touched the guitar for the first time, I would think around that time I was already listening to kind of In Flames, Children of Bodom, this kind of lighter extreme metal stuff. So I think it synced very well and I had a lot of people around me. And then I started just meeting more and more people in the metal scene, like as I started going to concerts and stuff. And then I was pretty much just trapped in it, or not trapped, but I was in it and wasn't getting out because like I was addicted to concerts and writing and playing, and that's how it's been for like almost 20 years now, which is depressing that it's 20 years, but
No. Well, it depends how you look, at it. I mean, maybe it's depressing because you think you kind of feel old, maybe. Am I right? Like 20 years. When I'm also, speaking about the bands, I'm listening to like, oh my God, it was like 25 years, like how old I am. Like 25 years, I like certain bands, and oh my God, I'm so old. Maybe from that perspective, it is. But from the other perspective, like, any kind of experience you gained is really beneficial to you. Definitely. You can only progress. That's how I think, I guess.
yeah, like I mean in some ways it's extremely cool because like
Yeah.
when I don't know, when I made like the first Soliloquy EP, I was maybe like 22 or something, 24 perhaps, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna make a death doom metal record because I like Bray Murder Day or whatever, and just like suddenly I in somewhere in that weird evolution I became like I'm not in an arrogant way, but I became more like a real artist.
Yeah, I
In the
know what
beginning,
you
it was just like I'm playing my guitar and I just want to make something fun. And it's
Yeah.
somewhere along the way I got addicted to actually expressing myself and becoming an artist, which is that's I think is the interesting and really rewarding part.
Exactly. And I mean, this is kind of a natural process. And I think this is actually fun. So I think I truly support when people are trying to experimenting, having fun. And, if you find yourself in that, that's the goal, I guess, you know. Because not I don't think that should be pressured, as you said. I think all of the people just started, okay, let's see where we are going with this. And then you kind of discover your new talents, your new tastes and other things, right?
Yeah, and I think I mean that's always kind of a challenge for me trying to keep the music away from being work and try to really make it into something that's only positive and has no pressure. And sometimes, I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes I fail at it, but mostly I think it's still a very positive influence.
Yeah, I think it is. Like whatever people trying to accomplish, I think it can be very rewarding as long as it is positive. And tell what do you think about people who started, getting into music, into making music, and let's say they're not in their 20s, they're older? Because I recently got into singing. I mean, clean singing is super hard for me, of course, because of breathing. But some people say I'm really talented at growling and screaming, which is kind of surprising for me because I really didn't expect that I can pull it off, but I really do. And I was like thinking, people asked me, before, some of my vocal coaches, they were like, "Are you planning to make a band? Because if you sound like this after the first class, like it would be such a shame." And I was like, damn, like, so it got me thinking, like, I'm 39 years old, like, what do you think of, I mean, generally about that? People who started getting late into music, I generally approve it, not only because of me, but I have a feeling that, this music industry can be kind of cruel towards people. They be like, mostly going for the people into 20s or something. What are your thoughts about that?
I think like the underground metal scene, especially if you go into like these niche genres like death
Yeah,
metal, doom metal, I think there is no real age factor in there. I think it's just so extremely unhip music that no one really cares. I mean, if
yeah,
you're good pretty much, and you can start at whatever age. I mean, I'm kind of still expecting at some point, I think I will be motivated enough to go into playing with a live band and finding my band and doing tours and
yeah,
stuff like that. And I mean, I don't mind if that happens when I'm 45. I mean, it's fine
yeah,
really.
yeah,
So I think it's not really anything to worry about. Like unless you're playing some kind of super hip genre, I can see people
yeah, yeah.
that,
You
but
know,
in metal, no one cares. I mean, it's just as long as you're good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Probably yes. As you said, some great record labels, and if you are going to make something super mainstream, yeah, that can be concerning. But it's not my intention. I just want to make something for myself. If someone likes it, cool. If not, cool. Like as long as you express it, and feel good about it, it's totally fine. I believe,
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
right intentions to go in with, definitely.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to say something very, very important. So I noticed while listening to Desolator, who is a huge fan of True Detective? All of you? Or?
I think all of us like the TV show. I'm pretty sure, but I
Yeah,
think I'm the one who brought it in because I it was when True Detective was super hip and was the new show, like, and everyone was watching it. That was when we made the song. And I was just
yeah,
like, when I heard that quote, like I have to steal it, I have to take it. And
yeah,
it's so funny with that quote because afterwards it showed up like everywhere. I think I heard like 3 or 4 songs, and even there was some band that I saw live that had it in their intro. I don't remember what it was. It
yeah,
was some doom metal band local or something, and they had it in there also. So I was like, yeah, this works well. But I mean, it really fits the song because the song is basically saying the same thing as he's saying in the speech.
yeah.
So it was just like perfect match.
That's why I wanted to say I'm also impressed by the way you're combining artwork. Of course, artwork is always perfectly matched. Like no matter the bands we mentioned, Desolator as well has awesome artwork, and yeah, that choice all absolutely matches with the lyrics. And I was like, well, damn. And also, I was also arguing with my friends about that philosophy of True Detective. They tell me it's really super dark, but when you come to it, I'm not really sure. Like maybe they're afraid of the reality, but I think it pretty much points out the reality today. Like, how do you feel about that quote specifically?
Yeah, like I mean, for me, like nihilistic and dark art, I don't really
Yeah,
see any problems with it. I mean, it's
exactly,
definitely reflecting the humanity that is right now. And I think
exactly.
people who are kind of pushing it the other way and just pretending that everything is happy happy and want that in their art, I mean, they're just not. They're just choosing to ignore kind of obvious stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
okay, if they are genuinely happy, then I'm really happy for them. But in this world, I'm not really able to write any happy art, not on a personal level or on a larger scale.
yeah.
Definitely.
It's just like what I've noticed. Like, what he said there is absolutely true because especially when it comes to people's relationships, any kind of relationship we are talking about, like people, I'm not pointing anyone, I'm just speaking in general what I've noticed from my experiences as well. We all can be some kind of too proud, too self-aware. It can be devastating for all of us and all of our connections. Meanwhile, I have noticed animals can be super intelligent, and there are a lot of intelligent species, and I believe they are way more happy than we are actually, because we are two complex beings, and I'm aware that it's not simple, and it's great side to being complex. We can make and achieve great things, but we also complicate life of ourselves, and other people. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, but of course, there's like a lot of overthinking and
Yeah,
egoism and societal
exactly.
structures that come with it. I mean, we're still there like fighting over which country we're born in and which religion we are, and that's just
Yeah,
crap that anyone smart would have abandoned so long ago. So I mean, we are definitely we are maybe pretending that we are on a way higher level than we are, because I mean we are definitely still basic level in some aspects for sure.
Well, definitely. That's why I believe, the simpler things are, people are more happy with that. Like, that's why I choose people I can agree with easily. I can make some arrangements. I can talk to them easily. Like, no bullshit, no filter, just the real thing. It makes things a lot of easier, I believe. Yeah. And
Yeah, I mean you have to optimize your life a little bit. I mean I've done that a lot lately, and it's definitely helped me out a lot for sure.
yeah,
But it
yeah,
takes a lot of balls just to do something different. Because I mean I could never do the 9 to 5 stuff, for instance. Like I decided it doesn't work for me.
yeah.
And that kind of, and yes, those kind of decisions. I mean everyone doesn't have the freedom to take that decision, but at least I mean it requires reprioritizing. And I mean when it comes to like money versus happiness and all that stuff, I mean you really have to take some brave decisions to do different stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that issue with the money, and also not being grateful. I always like to think that, the money in the situation I'm into right now, I should be grateful for it. The people who support me, my real friends, my family, because sometimes we take people, I mean, generally situations for granted. And when we lose them, then we become aware of it. And that's kind of pretty much shame. That's why I like to help when I can, to support bands, to see the scene here, sadly, in Serbia is not really that great as it was before. Many great bands came here earlier. Tool was there, I don't know, Cradle, Typo Negative. Now you can barely see, okay, Iron Maiden, they came, I think some other bands, but it is devastating in comparison how it was before you know and
Yeah,
what do you think, what are the crucial things that made it happen?
I mean, I think the state of the world right now is very just anti enjoying life. I mean,
Yeah,
because people's money is not worth anything, and everything is just raging costly. I mean, that makes
yeah,
it impossible for bands to tour properly, and just I mean, the whole combined factor makes it harder to do anything else but work and sleep. I mean, that's basically the result of this whole COVID, Russia
yeah,
inflation mess that we are in. I mean,
yeah,
it's simply that people's money are worth less and we have less freedom to do things. That's definitely,
exactly.
and I'm not really positive that that is going to change. To be honest,
Not
that's
really.
I see that going even more in that direction for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's all about that constant circle, like job, like sleeping, eating, and then you kind of start thinking and acting like a robot. It's totally like devastating, to feel that way.
Yeah,
That's
like I mean, I did that full 9 to 5 working for like 5 years, and it was
mm,
basically just like me just grinding through a bunch of shit that I didn't like to have these like small hours of anything useful, and eventually I was just like to the point where like I don't care about money anymore. Like I'm gonna
yeah,
make 50% less, but at least I will have the freedom to go to the gym at which time I want to, and I will have the freedom to
yeah,
do some music, and I can take care of myself. Like
yeah.
it's in the end, it's a way higher priority. But I understand people. I mean, I'm very lucky to be from Sweden, and I'm very lucky to have a like that solid background that helps me. I mean, it would have been a completely different case if I was born somewhere else for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that is really important. And tell me also, I wanted to ask you, tell me more about vocal coaching. I think I saw some techniques you were showing on your YouTube channel, if I'm correct.
And not exactly
I don't, yeah,
techniques, but I was talking about growling. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
because like, I am a very anti-school vocalist. Like I did my first vocal lesson last week in my entire life, so I'm like I have zero knowledge about accurate technique or techniques. So basically, with my growling, I have an article on my homepage and I have the YouTube video, and I'm more talking about like how to find your unique growling voice and how to express more rather than technique. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have perfect growling technique, obviously, as as I
No.
discovered last year. So like, I'm not perfect, definitely not. So I should not be vocal advising people. I'm pretty sure.
Mm, okay, I mean, maybe that's from your perspective, but I do believe that a lot of people think probably differently. I believe that's great. And as you said, I mean, it's your own voice, and that's great that people should find their own voices instead of, imitating someone. I mean, maybe they don't have attention to do that. Sorry, they don't have intention to do that. But sometimes, when you're singing with the vocalist, you just pick it up, and you just, it can be unconsciously as well. That's why I think it's very important, and how to save your voice, not to damage your vocal cords.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, like I mean, I've done everything wrong with my musical progression pretty much with that stuff because like I never had any lessons. I basically just
Yeah.
learned through ripping my voice apart 50 times until I learned to do it slightly better. That's basically so like I went to a vocal coach last week for my first ever vocal lesson because I want to fix my clean vocals, and
Yeah.
she also saw some of my death metal stuff, and she was like, "Oh, where did you learn that?" And I'm like, "I'm self-taught." And she was like, "What? How? Why did you why did you do it that way?" Kind of that was kind of the reaction. So it's you really, I think it's better definitely to get a professional in there, especially for clean vocals, because with clean
Yeah.
vocals you have all the note choices, you have all the
Yeah.
theory. Like with the extreme vocals, if you have a knack for it naturally and you don't have terrible technique, you're gonna be fine anyway.
And
But
if
with
you
the
have a
clean
lot of
vocal,
rage.
yeah, exactly the passion. Now, but with the clean vocals, there's so much other stuff, and I
Yeah.
basically just passed over the other stuff and started singing. And now I
Yeah.
have to track back. Like I can do some pretty advanced vocal stuff, but I
Yeah.
cannot. I just skipped all the basics. So now I have to do super super basic stuff where I'm basically going 15 years back in my development and trying to fix things that I have done for 15 years. And it's like, those habits, I probably have to do them 1 million times to erase those bad habits. So I would say
Yeah.
try to get help early, and like, and with the growling stuff, it's also like I would recommend getting help with it, but if it feels good and you don't really get hoarse or anything, then congrats. Pretty much like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was pretty much surprised. Like, I expected my clean singing to be better, but that breathing is pretty much fucked up with clean singing, and it also affects the tones you're producing. And also, I really hate theory. I shouldn't be saying this. And I really like to skip those parts and to get, I'm a really impatient person.
Me too.
That, yeah, that's the biggest issue, I believe. Yeah. And do you have any advice for the people who started getting into it, into thinking in general? You said that it's the best way to, to search for the right coach.
How do you, sorry, how do you,
I just want to say,
in,
you said your advice would be, I mean, for the people who try to get more into singing, to search for the right coach for that, right?
yeah, I think yes, finding a coach that understands the different styles that you want to do is important. Because if
Yeah,
you go to some super classically schooled singer and you're like, I want to sing Alice in Chains, that's not
yeah,
going to be the best match. Because like the vocal coach that I went for, I mean, she has like a bit of even extreme metal experience, so she kind of
yeah,
knows the death metal stuff too, even though I'm not working on it. And I think that will help her understand. Okay, he can do that. Maybe I can help him take those techniques and move them into the clean vocal territory. Because my problem is that I'm a very, very extreme vocalist, and I'm a
yeah.
very, very, very tender clean vocalist. But there's nothing in between.
Oh, so
So
you have
that's
to find a balance, right? Yeah,
I have to find like a powerful and distorted clean voice. That is what I want to do, and
yeah,
that's like even after one lesson, I realized that I have like way more work to do than I thought. So it's
yeah,
but it's I mean it's kind of a spiral of negative and positive because I realize that I'm learning a lot, but it's also it takes a toll on your self-confidence a little bit. Now when I'm going into the studio to sing the clean vocals, I'm aware that I'm doing that wrong and that can affect my confidence and stuff. But I would still definitely recommend vocal lessons for the cleans, no matter
yeah.
which style. But just try to find a teacher with like that have good certifications and that is aware of the style that you're singing, so they don't go that you don't get the reaction of I don't like this music, so you cannot teach it. Because I think that
Yeah.
I have no experience of that happening, but I can see that it could be a problem.
Yeah, honestly, because people can watch, YouTube tutorials, but it's not always, you cannot really relate to that. And it's not maybe the best way of showing that. I mean, you cannot really connect with that vocalist. And I think there are tips and tricks for most of the things, and especially singing, because I've met one vocal coach for the growling and screaming. And it's just also about the psychology thing. They figure you out, and they figure the best way for you to learn it quickly without damaging your vocals. So That's why I think it's essential to find the right one who will show you, the fastest but the most safe way of achieving it, right?
Yeah, because like with a
Yeah.
YouTube video, I mean, I've been watching the guy Chris Leap on YouTube a lot. I think he's really
Oh,
good, like with the Rocky stuff, with the Deftones and Alice in Chains and those kind of bands. But it's
yeah,
still, I mean, his advice is still general. I mean, everyone still has a different voice. Plus,
exactly. Yeah,
getting like the stuff I'm working on with vocal placement definitely is way better to work in a personal setting because basically
yeah,
my vocal coach can say, now you did it right, now you did it wrong, and I'm actually getting like the live feedback to the feeling of right and wrong because the placement thing for me it's I'm not really at the stage in my singing where I understand when it's happening or not. So I think I need her basically to just give me an electric shock every time it's wrong until
yeah,
until I get there, sort of. So
yeah,
so in that aspect, it's extremely good. Plus, I mean, it's a more kind of communicative environment too. Like I'm not really that into singing powerfully at home. Like growling, yes, but the clean, powerful vocals at home, they don't really turn out the same as they do in like in a studio or
yeah.
something. It's a whole different game, definitely.
Yeah. Also, I have noticed, especially the bands you mentioned. I saw Deftones last year in Budapest. Like the performance was amazing. And also, speaking of, yeah, Alice in Chains, yeah, I like a lot earlier stuff with Lane. I think the things he could pull off, it's just, I think he could even sing a lot of things effortlessly. And I saw some people were trying to execute that, that level, and it's not, I mean, not that it's not easy, it's quite hard, especially for the beginners. It's really
Yeah,
challenging.
it's not the
Yeah.
band not the band I would choose to sing as a beginner for sure. Because
Exactly.
he's
Yeah,
so aggressive and so laid back at the same time, and with the
exactly.
distortion and with the, I mean, he's at this. There are these singers like same with the Silverchair singer. He's also like every every line he has switched. A Deftones singer is the same. He has switched vocal
Yeah,
techniques like 5 times in one line, and
and
I
you'll
mean,
be like,
unless you are to that level yourself, then you don't understand what you're supposed to do. I mean, you can sing the
yeah,
melody, but you'll never be able to execute these falsetto, mixed voice, distortion things. I mean, that's a whole other type thing. And I mean, if you can't really do those, then maybe you shouldn't get into the song. Like, because Deftones is
yeah.
one of those bands. Like they're like my third favorite band or something like that. But like, I never sing Deftones. It just doesn't work. It's just.
It's just, I think you should, I mean, we who, who are into those kind of singing practices, I think we should learn how to go slowly and slowly, to master a specific technique. And then we should try to see how it looks like when we try to blend them. Like it takes a lot, I believe, but trust me, with hard work, even with my zero knowledge of theory, with hard work and everyday practices, yeah, I think it's executable, definitely.
Yeah, like I
Yeah,
mean, the thing that you're losing not having a coach is more about the pace also. Like, I
yeah,
mean, if I would have had a teacher this whole time, I would have probably been at this stage when I was 27 and not 37. That's the
yeah,
that's probably the big difference that I would say. I mean, because I mean, I always progressed, but it hasn't been fast. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's for sure. And tell me about the festival you're hoping to visit this August. We spoke about
Uh,
that before.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to two festivals this summer actually, but the
Oh,
one we spoke about was Rockstadt in Romania. Like I've been
yeah.
there previously one time as well, and it's a really nice festival and super lineup again with it's Sleep Token, Hangman's Share are the bands I'm going for most, but there's like a lot of stuff, and I'm also going to
Infest.
miss it. Sorry,
Infest is going to be
oh
there as
they're
well.
playing. Oh okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Damn, I have to see them. I have to
Yeah.
listen to their music as well because I heard the band name a lot. I know they're one of Serbia's biggest bands, but I don't think I've ever listened to a song actually. So I really have to
They're really
definitely
great
check it out.
live. They're amazing live. Sleep Token, well, I hope you will. I would love to see them live. And what are your thoughts on them?
I love them. Like
Yeah,
I was like maybe a few months before the curve of them exploding because I was listening to them like a couple of years ago and just like yeah they're fine. And then I started listening to them more and more, and then they just took over my playlist. And I mean they're a really special band. I think they really deserve the hype. Like these last few years, actually some bands who deserve to be hyped have been hyped, like Vola and Sleep Token, which are genuinely great bands. But with Sleep Token, They just have some. They have such style mix, and they still have identity to it, no matter if they're heavy or if they're doing like the R&B poppy stuff. It's still, you can hear it's Sleep Token, and it's super well executed always. And of course,
Yeah,
like the vocals and the drumming are on like a whole different level. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
incredible music.
When I first, heard about them, I was like, I wasn't that much enthusiastic. I was like, okay, they're fine, but then I didn't give a good chance. But then when I, started listening to them more and more, I was like, wow, this is really special. It brings a lot of emotions, and that's what I like about the bands. And also, wanted to ask you something. Sweden has always like amazing music scene that pretty much stands out from everything else. A lot of great bands there. So, who would you pick as your favorite? Also, I must mention, I like Tiamat so much. I really adore them, especially that album Wild Honey. I think it's something really. I mean, for me, it's their best album, but okay, everyone has their own taste. And also, I recently interviewed that band Gaupa. You probably heard about them as well.
Kaupa?
Yes, yes. They're kind of a stoner, a little bit doom, a little bit blues kind of a thing, rock, a lot of things
Hmm.
going on there. I cannot just put them into one, genre. A lot of things going on. And that singer, Emma, is just amazing. The things she can do with her voice, incredible.
I don't think
Yeah,
I've heard them. Have to check them out as well. So now I have that on the
yeah,
list, and also Infest, and
yeah.
there was something more. But
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. But it's always good to get new music tips. Like, but
yeah,
my favorite band from Sweden is definitely the same as my favorite band. I mean, it's Catatonia all the way. Like they've
yeah,
been my favorite band for around 20 years now, and I don't see that really changing. That's just, I mean, it's my obsession band for sure.
yeah. When I mentioned, yeah, when you mentioned your influences, you also spoke about Paradise Lost, right?
They're one for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
with Soliloquy, I don't think maybe Paradise Lost shines through that much in the music, like mood wise. I think mood wise, Soliloquy is very Catatonia, even when it's very like on the extreme side. It's still, there is something Catatonia in there. That's
yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of no
I
choices and everything. It's just,
Yeah, I just wanted to say about Paradise Lost because I think I know about two or three people who actually like them, and I always like that album Host. And people be like, and okay, Symbol of Life. That's what resonates with me these days. What about you? What are for you their greatest releases? And
I think Draconian Times is probably
yeah,
my old
I
school
was
favorite. But
yeah,
I also like the era a lot when the synth kind of came together with the metal and they switched up into like one combined, like the In Requiem album and the Fate Divides Us album. Like those, I think, are pretty underrated. But I like
yeah,
pretty much everything they've done. I'm not into like the
yeah,
first two death metal albums that much, but
yeah,
I do like the synth stuff. Like this new album, the Host album that they made, the side project. If you heard it, it's like the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
continuation
yeah,
of
yeah.
Host. That's I mean that's amazing. It's really really good.
Yeah. I
So,
like for
but
say yeah,
also,
sorry.
yeah, like I mean, I'm overall, I have a very synth poppy period like the last few years, so it came in the perfect. So I was really really looking forward to it, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. Okay, I really cannot, and I really don't want to compare by any chance those bands. Like, I mean, Paradise Lost and Tiamat, I really don't really want to compare, but just I wanted to say, when I started listening to them and comparing those, first albums to the latest ones, it's amazing how they progressed over the years.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
both
just
those bands haven't really released any bad albums. I mean, it's kind of,
exactly.
I mean, Paradise Lost made a couple that haven't been like wow, but I mean, they made 20 albums and they're all at least okay, which is really impressive.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I wanted to ask you something else. Tell me about your thoughts of making some kind of soundtrack. Does something like that ever, popped up? Or, because I listen to many great, soundtracks. I like soundtracks from True Detective, Sons of Anarchy. He has a good one. That movie Business, you know, if you heard, you probably heard 2006, I think. That guy from Football Factory, he played there.
Nah,
What
not
else?
sure about
Uh,
that.
Twin Peaks,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Yeah, like
Yeah,
all the David
yeah,
Lynch movies, of course, have great stuff.
yeah. I'm a huge admirer of him, because he is a complete artist, He is, he's doing paintings. He is like, also he is having his own music, and he is an amazing director. So, what are your thoughts about making something like that? Have you ever got some ideas?
I never thought about it, but like if I would get the offer, I would do it for sure. I'm not so
Yeah,
sure if they would be happy with it because like I'm not really like I don't consider myself like a soundscape type musician. Like I'm not good with like the elements of production and the elements of like putting effects on stuff. Like I'm very like melody and riff and structure based. Like the
yeah,
last Soliloquy album, I had nothing to do with how it sounded, like sonically. Like I basically had my tracks, my clean guitar tracks and everything, and just like sent it to someone who knows better, and just like see what you can do with this. I didn't even have any like real tech comparisons, and it turned out really good because like that person who did it is into similar music. So like that would be my problem with the soundtrack stuff is that it would be the same if I would make like a post rock band. It would also be the same problem because I'm not really like some people are so good with putting the right type of effects and having this pedals and having the right maybe even switching instruments and switching tunings and like I think I'm a bit too basic when it comes to that stuff, and just like I think more song without the sonical stuff. So like in the best of worlds, I would have someone in Soliloquy that would be like the opposite, who would be like really, really good with the just the theoretical stuff and with the sonical stuff. That would be like the perfect like a lead player for sure, because I'm more of a rhythm guitarist also.
Oh, okay. And tell me, you are still, as I assume, you are still open to collaboration. And if you can share, if you want to share something about that, I think it would be great because I believe there would be people who can, can get a chance to collaborate with you.
Yeah, surely. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
and I say yes to most things. Like, I'm doing a lot of different like YouTube covers, and I'm also singing on some stuff that's gonna come out that I haven't announced yet. So there's like a lot of stuff going on, and like I'm open to a lot of things. Like, same thing if anyone would be interested in getting lyrics, like I'm interested in that too. I never done it, but I'm definitely interested. So I'm really open to most stuff. It's the same like with a live band. I would eventually be interested in doing vocals with some band if I would find the right band. So it's like it's a lot that's I'm open for a lot of different stuff for sure.
that's great. And what is the best way for people to contact you if they want collaboration?
Like these days, I think Instagram is probably where I'm fastest. I mean, email also works, but Instagram is yeah, I think it's best because then you can kind of get a view of like since I post a lot of music and you can see what I can do and so Instagram is probably best.
Cool. So cool. And do you have any plans for those bands you mentioned? I mean, your projects and Soliloquium. Do you have any, plans for the future projects? Do you have some ideas on your mind already?
Yeah, with Soliloquy, I'm in the process of making a new album. Like it's very early stage, but I have ideas and it's started. But it's gonna be a slow one. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna take it pretty easy on this one. But there's gonna be an album eventually. And aside from Soliloquy, there is another band where I'm doing vocals. It's looking like I'm gonna sing a whole record for them, likely. But it's not been announced, so I can't say what it's about. But it's going to be a pretty cool one, definitely. Where I'm doing some clean vocal stuff, which is beyond what I've done before. So it's going to be quite an interesting one.
Okay, that's fine. That's great. And tell me something about that YouTube promotion. And what is the best way, to promote your music or someone else's? I mean, maybe it would be important. Okay, definitely for me or some other people who started getting into it because I have seen so many content on YouTube, and it's really, hard to, get in there to be noticed. So how does it how is it different from other platforms, other social media? So what are the advantages of it and what are disadvantages?
I mean, the main problem right now with YouTube is that it's kind of an old platform. Like in
Yeah,
the heyday of YouTube music, you can really get a lot of plays pretty easily, like
yeah,
just titling stuff the right way and that kind of stuff. But those days are definitely over. Like when I
yeah,
released the first Soliloquy EP, it was like 2014, 13 something. Then I basically just put a couple of songs up, and I put Death Doom Metal in the title, and basically went to #1 of Death Doom Metal on YouTube, and
Yeah.
that was it. And that kind of got the views flowing. Like I have this old Cranberries cover that's tagged like that too, and that one has like 120,000 views. And if I would put that up now, having it the same time span with how it looks now, would have been like 10% maybe. So I don't really have that many good tips for YouTube anymore. It's kind of it's more YouTube is so much more based on just like being super active, and also thumbnails definitely these days is super important. I mean, you really want clickbaity thumbnails and stuff. That's for sure. But generally with YouTube, it's kind of an exhausting deal because you really have to post very, very often. That's the
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work. And for musicians, I mean, Instagram is so much more reachable since you can do a lot of short form stuff and you can post a funny picture, and it's it's still quite a lot of work, but it's a whole different. You don't have to do video editing and you don't have to upload big stuff. I mean, it's a whole
Yeah.
different game. So I would not recommend musicians to use YouTube in an active way unless they are super serious about it. I mean, enough.
Yeah.
I mean, use of course you can still post your music videos and post your songs, but I would put my energy elsewhere unless you are super, super serious about YouTube.
Yeah. And do you feel the hashtags are really important, like especially when you're starting with it?
In YouTube?
Yeah, yeah.
Nah.
You
I think
think?
the tag
Yeah.
aren't the tags on YouTube, are they even do we even use them anymore? Aren't they like
I think they
it took
do. Yeah, yeah.
because it's more about back when I was doing the YouTube promotion, I think the title of the video was basically what got me the views, and maybe putting a bit SEO friendly stuff in the description, like genres, similar bands, what is in the video, that kind of stuff. But I mean, problem with YouTube is that it's so based on user behavior these days, like because they in 1 second they're going to be able to analyze your entire video and see exactly what is said in it. So why would
Yeah.
they care how you describe it at this point?
Oh, I see what you mean. I see. I
I
feel
mean,
maybe, yeah, maybe like Instagram is, I think, great with those hashtags, if I'm correct, right?
yeah.
But on the other hand, like you cannot really post links there, if I believe. Yeah. Is that still?
Only in the
Yeah.
profile and in Instagram stories. Like in the
Yeah.
main Instagram post, it doesn't work. So that's I mean, Instagram is more for the phase of making people aware of. Now I'm talking like a
Yeah.
marketer here, so but
Yeah.
it's basically more the awareness phase. I mean, selling phase, Instagram is not great,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
to make people aware that you exist and build a brand and that kind of stuff, it can be very effective. So
Yeah.
like, but the end game of like, I mean, selling stuff on Bandcamp from Instagram, that doesn't happen for me. I mean, that's
Oh,
once per year or something like.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, Instagram has its own problems, of course, that it's very, I mean, it's very vanity based and it's very like based on just good looking people doing very colorful stuff, which is like complete
Yeah.
lie
Like,
towards our realities. So,
yeah.
because
Well,
no one wants to look at me doing my laundry, and which I do more often than exciting stuff. So it's in that way, I think Instagram is very bullshit.
yeah, I think, definitely it comes with all the social media, that kind of thing. That's why a lot of people pull off from that, you know. And
Yeah,
yeah, that was pretty much great. Do you have any message for your fans?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who is supporting my bands and buying stuff and mentioning my music and all that kind of stuff. It's very, very appreciated. That's my main, yeah.
Okay, so
And thank you,
thank you.
thank you to you for the interview also.
Thank you too. It was lovely, and I hope to hear from you again, of course.
Yeah, could do another one after the album is released maybe.
Yeah, it would be nice. Thank you for mentioning that. And have a lovely rest of the evening, and hope to talk to you soon.
You too. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.